The last square we're going to look at is made in our main color only, and it's a solid motif. It's made up primarily of double crochet stitches, but we're going to introduce a new stitch, the double treble stitch, which are these long ones here. So if you want to take a look at the chart, if you're following along, the double treble are these long stitches worked into the row below. I'm going to show you how to work that next. So the symbol for the double treble crochet stitch has 3 little dashes across it. So it looks like a T with 3 little dashes. So let's look at that next. For our solid motifs, because we're working with Red Heart Super Saver in a solid color, you don't have to worry about measuring your tail. You can leave as long of a tail as you'd like. Just make sure it's long enough to weave in at the end. So I'm going to begin with a slip knot on my hook as usual. And this time I'm going to start with a chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to join that into a ring by making a slip stitch in the first chain. And now all of my stitches in round 1 are going to be worked into that chain ring. The first round begins with a chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And again, that's going to count as a double crochet stitch as we work. Now I'm going to work 3 double crochet stitches all in that ring. And that's going to create the first side of our square. After the 3 double crochets, I'm going to work a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and that forms our corner space. Then I'm going to work a new side, which will be 4 double crochet stitches. Our first one was only 3 because we had that chain 3 count as our first stitch. So there's my second side, 4 double crochets and chain 3 for the corner. We're going to do that one more time. 4 double crochet stitches and chain 3. Now I have 3 sides and 3 corners. I'm going to end with 4 double crochets, again, all in the same ring, the chain ring. And that's my last side, but I'm not going to work a chain 3 this time. To join, we're going to do something a little different this time. I'm going to chain 1, and then instead of joining with a slip stitch, I'm going to join with a stitch. So as previously, we've worked rounds where we're joining to the top of the beginning chain. That's what we're going to do this time, except instead of a slip stitch, I'm going to join with a half double crochet stitch. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, insert into the top of that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over my hook, and pull through all of the loops, creating a half double crochet stitch. And so what that does is it leaves my working yarn right in the middle of that corner space. If we take a look at the chart, it might be a little easier to see here. I've got a chain 1, and then this is my half double crochet stitch, which is actually positioned at a right angle to my other stitches in the round. Now what this does is it places my working yarn at the end of the round right in the center of that corner. If I had joined to the top of this chain with a slip stitch, my yarn would be over to this side. But now I'm in a position where my working yarn is right in the center of that corner, ready to work round 2. So it's just a different way to join and a different way to position your yarn to get it in just the right spot for your next round. Our second round begins with a chain 3. And just like before, that chain 3 is going to stand in for the first double crochet stitch of our round. Then the instructions say to 1 double crochet around post of joining HDC, or half double crochet. Now don't confuse that with a post stitch, like a front post stitch, back post stitch. All we're doing is working underneath that half double crochet stitch, which is lying horizontally instead of vertically. So I'm going to work that double crochet into that space, and it will end up being worked around the post of that half double crochet stitch. There we go. Then you're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So all of the double crochets along each side of your square, get 1 double crochet worked into them. And now we're at our chain 3 corner. So here we're going to work 2 double crochet stitches, and then we're going to introduce our super tall double treble stitch. So for a double treble stitch, you need to yarn over your hook 3 times, 1, 2, 3, before inserting into the space. But we're not going to be working into this corner space. Oh, I lost my yarn over. I'm going to be working into the foundation ring. So to do that, I'm going to insert my hook into the ring, but then I'm going to bring it back up through the chain 3 corner space. So I'm working in between the 4 double crochet clusters of my first round. I'm going in through the ring at the middle, and I'm coming up this way. So let's do that again. Our double treble is 1, 2, 3 wraps around your hook. Then I'm inserting into the foundation ring. I'm coming up with my hook through my chain 3 space. Then I'm going to pull up a loop. And now I've got 5 loops on my hook. And now I'm going to complete that just like I would a double or a treble crochet. I'm going to yarn over hook and draw through 2 loops at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I've got a very tall stitch that's coming from the center of my work all the way up to my second round corner. Then I'm going to work into that same chain 3 corner space. I'm going to finish my corner with 2 double crochet stitches. So that long stitch just adds a little bit of textural interest in our otherwise plain double crochet square. So let's take a look at that again. I'm going to do one more side. We're going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch of my side. So that's 4 altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 DC in each DC. And now I'm at my corner again. So the corner is 2 double crochets in the chain ring, 1 double treble crochet stitch in the foundation ring, and then another 2 double crochet stitches up in this chain 3. So here's my 1, 2 double crochets in my chain 3 corner space. Then I'm going to work my super tall double treble stitch. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times, insert into the center chain 6 foundation ring, and then bring my hook up through that chain 3 space to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. Then I have 5 loops on hook, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, yarn over, draw through 2 loops, and one more time, yarn over, draw through 2 loops. And there's my double treble stitch. Now I'm working just into the chain 3 space again, 2 more double crochet stitches. So repeat that around the next 2 sides, and then I'll show you how to join the round. So now I've completed all 4 sides and 3 corners, and now I'm back to that same corner that I began in. So this corner space already has 2 double crochets in it. It's got the chain 3 that counts as a double crochet stitch and 1 additional. So it's sort of like I've completed half my corner already. So now I have to complete the other half over here. So in that same space, I'm going to work 2 double crochet stitches and then my long double treble stitch. So again, 1, 2, 3 yarn overs into the center, up through that chain space. Your work does get a little distorted as you're doing this, and then pull up a loop. With 5 loops on my hook, I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops at a time until I'm back to just 1 loop on my hook, and there's my double treble. And then to finish off my round, I'm going to join with a slip stitch into the top of that beginning chain 3. And there's my second round. Our third round is quite simple. You're going to begin with a chain 3 again, 1, 2, 3, again counting as your first double crochet of your round, and then you're going to double crochet in the same space that you joined the last round. So that is an increase. That is counts as 2 double crochet stitches in the same space. Then you're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 6 double crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From here, you're going to work 2 double crochet in the next double crochet. So that is the last double crochet stitch before our big tall double treble stitch. So you almost don't even need to count. You just keep working double crochet stitches until the last double crochet stitch before the double treble. And that last double crochet stitch gets 2 double crochets in it. So you've increased, worked 6 stitches, and increased again. And then we're going to work a chain 3 corner, 1, 2, 3, for our corner. And then you're going to skip the double treble stitch. So the long one does not get a stitch in it. You're going to skip that and then do the same thing again. So we're going to increase by working 2 double crochet stitches in the same stitch. Then you're going to work 1 double crochet stitch in each stitch until the last double crochet stitch before your double treble, or if you prefer counting, 1 double crochet stitch in each of the next 6. I like to read my stitches and just not have to count, but sometimes it's difficult to read your stitches, especially when everything's in the same color, so counting is always going to be the most accurate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This double crochet stitch gets 2 double crochet stitches in it. That's an increase. Then my corner is chain 3, skip the double treble stitch, and then work 2 double crochet stitches in the next double crochet stitch. So repeat that around, and we'll meet at the end of the round and I'll show you how to join. Now I'm at the end of our third round, and I'm going to join this round the same way that we joined our first round. So I've ended my repeat with 2 double crochet stitches in the last double crochet stitch. I'm going to skip that double treble stitch. I'm going to work a chain 1 and then join with a half double crochet stitch into the top of the chain 3 that I began with. And again, that just gets our yarn over to the exact center of our corner before we work our next round. Our 4th round is very similar to the 2nd round. We just have more stitches along each side. So we're going to begin with a chain 3 again. Again, counts as our first double crochet stitch. And we're going to work a double crochet around the post of that joining half double crochet stitch. So we're really just working under it and into that corner space. So that's the beginning of our corner, which we're going to complete as we end the round. Now from here, we're just going to work a double crochet stitch in each stitch to the corner. So in this case, we now have 10 stitches to work into. But if you prefer to just work to the corner until you get to your corner space, there's no real need to count. So when I get to my corner, I'm going to work the same type of stitches that I worked in my 2nd round corner. I'm going to work 2 double crochet stitches in the chain 3 space of the previous round. And then I'm going to work a long double treble stitch, but I'm going to work it into the previous double treble stitch, which is at the base of the corner. So before we worked into the center ring, this time we're going to work into the actual stitch that we worked previously in round 2. So again, a double treble is yarn over 3 times before inserting into the stitch. I'm going to go into the stitch and come back up through that space. You're not going to go back and grab the yarn around there. You're going to bring it through this way. Now I have 5 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, draw through 2 loops at a time until I've got just the 1 loop on my hook. That's my super tall double treble stitch. And then I'm going to complete the corner with 2 double crochet stitches back in that chain 3 space. So very similar to the 2nd round. Now I'm just going to work double crochet stitches across to my next corner, and I'm going to work exactly the same group of 5 stitches in my next corner, and I'm going to do that all the way around. At the end of my 4th round, I need to complete the corner that we began at the beginning of the round. So I've worked my 10 double crochets across my double crochet stitches at the side, and then in the same chain space, the same corner space that we began, I'm going to work 2 double crochet stitches and a double treble stitch in the double treble stitch from the 2nd round. So 1, 2, 3 yarn overs into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 until I have 1 loop left on my hook, and that completes my round. I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, and there's the end of round 4. Our 5th round is a piece of cake. This is the cruise to the finish line. So begin again with a chain 3 that counts as our first double crochet stitch, and you're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 14 stitches. So all of this is to say that you're just going to work 1 double crochet stitch in each stitch across, and you're going to end at that double treble stitch. So if you're not exactly sure if you can tell which stitch is the double treble stitch as you go along, then please count all 14 stitches. Or if you're able to read your stitches pretty well, you can just stop after you've made a double crochet stitch in the top of that double treble stitch. So here's my double treble stitch. I can tell because it's very long and it sits on top of my other stitches. And now I'm going to work chain 3 for a corner. And from here, I'm going to work 1 double crochet in each double crochet stitch or each stitch to my next double treble stitch. So this will be 15, 1 double crochet in each of the next 15 stitches. That will end with a double crochet in your double treble stitch. So let's do that all the way around, and again I'll show you how to join the round. So now I'm at the end of my last side. I've worked 15 double crochet stitches and a chain 3, and this time all we're going to do to join the round is slip stitch in the top of that chain 3. We're not going to bother with that half double crochet join because we don't need our working yarn to be at the center of that corner space because we don't have another round. That's it for our solid colored motif. Once you've made your first solid square, you may want to compare it to your flower and granny squares because all of our squares need to be the same size for them to fit together nicely in the garment. Now your flower power squares and your granny all-in-one squares are probably going to be pretty close to 6 inches if the color changes have lined up where they need to be. The solid colored square, because we're not manipulating anything, we're not waiting for color changes, it might not be exactly 6 inches square. You can see this is a little bit small. So after I've made my first one, I think I'm going to try my next solid colored square in a larger hook size to see if I can get a little closer to the 6 inches of my other squares. And you don't have to make many of these, so just check it after you've done the first one and make any adjustments needed to get all of your squares 6 inches. And then we're going to work on our garment assembly. Before you sew your squares together, let's just take a quick look at the assembly diagrams because they are different depending on what size you are working. Here's the extra small, small, medium size. So this is 7 squares up and 3 across. And then we have this space here, and that is for our neck. Don't worry yet about the neck panel. And this size only has some side panels that we're going to work later. And that's just to create a really great fit. But for now, just worry about sewing the squares themselves together to create your body. Now the large, extra large size is a little bit different from the other two because there is a square here. You see it looks like a half square on either side. These are not half squares, they are full squares. This line just indicates, this dotted line indicates that this square is folded. So this square on our back folds over and attaches to the front over here. That can be a little difficult to wrap your head around when you're looking at it flat. So I've cut out the diagram here. So this is our back. These are our front panels. Now, if this is folded, I'm creating my side seams. I'm sewing the front to the back, utilizing these squares. This solid square continues over here and is attached to the back, this flower square here. So you can see it's just folded. So for this size only, you are also sewing your front to your back at the side seams as you assemble the body. Now for the very last size, the 2 to 5 extra large size, it's quite straightforward. You've got 5 squares across, you've got 7 down, and you've got this space here for your neck. Again, don't worry about the back neck panel. We'll take a look at that later. So take a look at the assembly diagram that coordinates with your size and sew your squares together. I'm going to show you how to do that next. So we're going to sew our square motifs together into our body piece using whip stitch worked through both loops. You can see how it is almost invisible here. There's just a little bit of stitching showing on the outside of each of our motifs. And one of the nice things about whip stitch is that it looks virtually the same on both sides. There it is on the inside of the work. And it's a very flexible, flat seam. So there's other seaming methods you can use. If you prefer those, by all means, use one of your preferred methods. But I'm going to show you how to work whip stitch through both loops. To begin sewing your squares together, you're either going to be working with a yarn tail left at the corner of your work, or you're going to have to join a new piece of yarn. Either way, you're going to be working with a yarn needle. And these are blunt tip needles with a really large eye to be able to feed your yarn through. So I'm going to show you how I like to join yarn to work my seams. So the entire time we're going to be working through both loops. What that means is that these nice V's that are the tops of our stitches on every side, and all of our 3 types of squares are going to have this same nice edge. We're going to work through both loops of that V, both sides of that V. There are seaming methods where you work through one or the other, but for this seam, we're going to be working through both. So I'm going to find the very center of my corner. So I've got a chain 3 corner here. I'm going to find my center stitch, and I'm going to insert my needle through both loops there from the back of the work to the front. So the front of both of my squares is facing. I'm going to pull that through and just leave that loose, leaving a tail long enough to weave in later. Then I'm going to do the same thing on my other piece. I'm going to find my very center stitch. It's a little hard to see on the black, but I've got that center stitch, and I'm coming up again from the back, from the wrong side to the right side of the work. Then I'm going to do exactly the same thing again on my first side. I'm going through exactly the same stitch from the back of the work to the front and pulling that. And this is called a figure 8 join. If I just lie that flat, you can see it forms an 8. And this just forms a nice, almost invisible join to sort of tack your yarn in place before you start seaming. So it just looks like, now that we've got our yarn tacked into place, we're going to create whip stitch. So all that is going from one side in my next stitch through both loops. And on this side, I'm going from the front of my work to the back, and then I'm coming from back to front through the other side, through both loops. And pulling it tight. So I'm going from front to back through the next stitch on this side and back to front through both loops on my other side. Front to back, back to front. Here's something to note as you're sewing your squares together. We have 3 different square patterns. Now, when you're sewing together something of the same pattern, granny square to granny square, we have exactly the same stitches on each square at the side. So when you're aligning stitch to stitch, it's going to work out just great. But if we're working granny square to solid square, granny square to flower square, whatever combination, those stitches aren't always going to line up stitch per stitch. So I've taken the liberty of looking at this stitch diagram and counting our stitches to see what the variation is between the squares so that you can get great alignment and have your sides work out nice and even as you're seaming. So the flower square has 19 stitches along the side. That's counting the chain 1 spaces and our chain 3 corners. Our granny square has exactly the same thing, 19 stitches and these 3 chain corners. Our solid colored square has 15 stitches and chain 3 corners. So you can see this is where you're going to have to do a little more finagling to get your stitches and your seams to line up really nicely. So this means if you're sewing together a granny square to a flower square, you can work stitch to stitch and your corners are going to align, and that's going to be great. If you're sewing a flower square to a solid square or a granny square to a solid square, there are 4 stitches difference. There's 4 stitches less on the solid square than on the granny square or the flower square. So what do? There's a couple of different ways to ease that in, but I think in this particular case, we've got a really nice coincidence in that there are 4 chain 1 spaces at the side of both of these squares. So what I would do when I'm sewing to a solid colored square is just skip those chain 1 spaces as I'm sewing stitch to stitch. So I would only stitch together the double crochet stitch to the double crochet stitch all the way up, and then when I get to a chain, skip it and work my seam into the next double crochet stitch. So here I've started that here, and you can see, and you can't even see that. It really doesn't make a difference, and that's going to adjust those 4 stitches so that we have our corners line up and our seam is nice and even. So here I've come up to the chain space. This stitch is my chain space. I'm going to skip that and I'm going to work into the next double crochet stitch and into the stitch on the other side and pull that through. And because we're working it evenly and neatly, at the end of the seam, you can't even tell that the stitches don't line up exactly. So for this particular pattern, these 3 particular patterns, I think that is a great way to ensure that your seams work out nice and even. If you were working the extra small, medium size only, you're going to need to work side panels on either side of your assembled body. If you're working one of the other sizes, you can skip this step entirely and we'll meet back on the next step. So if we take a look at the assembly diagram here, this is the front and this is the back. Now the instructions refer to right and left side panels, and the right and left refers to the right and left as they would be when you were wearing the garment. So if I was wearing the garment, it would be more like this. This is my back panel, this goes over my shoulders, and these are my fronts. So that means this is the left, this is the right. Now we're going to begin with the right back side panel. So that's down here. So when we do the right back side panel, we're going to be starting at this corner and working this way. Then you work the left front side panel. That starts over here, and you're picking up stitches this way. Then you're going to work the left back, which is actually going to begin here because the front is always facing, the right side is always facing as we're working our first row. So that's the left back, and then the right front is also going to start here, and we're going to work this way. So let's take a look at the front panels. So here I have my assembled body piece. These are the 2 front panels and front pieces, and this is my back, the 9 squares of the back. Now we're going to begin our side panels with the right back side panel. So that's over here. So I'm going to turn this so we're in the right spot. So we're going to join yarn to this motif here. It says with right side facing on larger hook, join MC, so that's your main color, your solid color, with a slip stitch to the bottom corner chain 3 space. So no matter what square you have in the bottom right corner, it would be a chain 3 space at the corner. So we're going to join our main colored yarn, our solid yarn, with the hook size, the larger hook that we used for all of our squares. And I'm going to join my main color with a slip stitch to the chain 3 corner space at the bottom right-hand corner, the back piece. So there I've joined with a slip stitch, and now I'm going to chain 2. And in this case, that chain does not count as a stitch. So we're not going to count that in our count of half double crochet stitches. So now we're going to work 2 half double crochets in that same chain 3 corner space. And we've been working a lot of double crochet stitches. Make sure you're only working that shorter half double crochet stitch, which again, as a quick review, is yarn over your hook, insert into the space, and drop a loop. You have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, draw through all of the loops. So do that once more so that we have 2 half double crochets in the corner. Then we need to work 16 half double crochets evenly across this first motif, and we want to have the last half double crochet in the corner chain 3 space on this side. So you can go ahead and work that and just count as you go and ease things in and try to get your stitch count exactly. But because we counted how many stitches we have across here previously in the seaming process, I happen to know that there are 15 half double crochet stitches across here. So if I skip the chain 1 spaces and only work into the half double crochets, I'll have 15 stitches, and then I can work my 16th HDC in that chain corner space. It'll work out great. So let's do that. And now I am at my left-hand corner. I'm going to work my last half double crochet stitch, and I've got 16 plus the 2 we worked in the corner for a total of 18 half double crochet stitches. Then we need to work 1 half double crochet stitch into the seam. So I'm going to find the last little horizontal slash of my seam, and I'm going to work a stitch right in there. Now it says to work 18 half double crochet evenly across this next motif. So again, because I counted the stitches before on the solid motif, I know that there's only 15 stitches here. So we need 18. We need to fit 3 more stitches than we have across here. So if I work 1 in the corner, 1 in the corner, and then these 15, that's going to equal 17. We still need 1 more stitch. So what I'm going to do is work 1 in the corner. I'm going to work halfway across this row and work 2 half double crochets right in the center, and then work to the end and work 1 in my corner, and that's going to equal 18. After you've worked your 18 stitches evenly across your second square, then again you need to work 1 more stitch in the seam in between that square, the second square, and the third square. And that's going to bring my stitch count up to 38 stitches, and we can move on to the next row. When we've been working our square motifs, we were always working with the right side facing, but because we're not working in rounds anymore, we're working rows, I'm going to turn the work. So now the wrong side is facing me. And for my next row, I'm going to chain 2. I'm just going to tighten that up a little bit. Chain 2. That doesn't count as a stitch. And now I'm going to work 1 half double crochet in each half double crochet till the end of the row. So here I've completed that next row, that wrong side row. I've worked 1 half double crochet all the way across, and just be careful when you get to the end of the row to make sure your last stitch is in the half double crochet stitch and you're not working into that chain 2 that doesn't count as a space. So from here, you're going to repeat that last row. You're going to turn your work and work another row going this way on the right side until this section equals 1 inch. So I am a little shy of 1 inch. I'm going to work 1 more row, and it says to end on a right side row. So that should work out perfectly. I'll have my third row. That should be about 1 inch. It's probably going to be the same for you, but if your row height is a little different than mine, you might have to work more or less rows.